or of course YouTubers, because there's a ton of them, and YouTubers, so many people, I got so many clips. I didn't even have to record myself. I got so many clips from like VTubers that went through the booth. It was, I got like 4 hours worth of footage. I still have to process, but it's another great way for, if you did miss out vket and you're waiting for the worlds to come back, just visit a couple of these YouTubers, and they're fantastic for going through the booths and giving their opinions and testing out the avatars and such.
Hello, welcome back to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion. Oh, wait. Why? Oh, you keep on moving, you little rat.
I did move. I'm still the same guy. Yeah, little rat. Yeah. I didn't move. I'm standing in the same spot. You had the camera there. Hi, folks. I'm the old man, Raptor, and our guest is. And I'm Nekonny.
Thank you very much for joining us. That's greatly appreciated.
Yeah. Yes, we do. Mm-hmm.
I have to say,
we appreciate you being here, sir.
I did see both the booths you were involved in, especially the mekamart one, and it was the coolest booth I've ever seen. I'm going to tell you that. The whole animation where you go down the little elevator and it floats about, that was really awesome, I have to say.
Whoa. Appreciate Hold the bus. Whoa, I didn't. So, first question, since he's always the one asking, what was your booth, and describe it to us? Not all of us, show up on time type deal. Holy criminy. Would you please? So the booth was something that showed up in the virtual market. Virtual market, for those of you that aren't familiar, is a marketplace that's held in Vrchat twice a year. Both in the summer and in the winter time. The winter event went from like the early to mid-December. And basically it's an exhibition by a Japanese company called Hiki, and they offer up a place for both content creators of both avatars and shaders to be able to promote their products. We had about 24 worlds, I believe, and 800 exhibitors across the board. So a lot of great things to see. So, and they, like I said, it happens twice a year. So if you missed the last one, next one should be happening in summer. Summer this year. And yes, and to answer your question, my booth was one of the booths that was in one of these worlds. And I tried to do something a little bit different with the way I was displaying my characters, which seemed to have become pretty popular, and people did really enjoy it, which made me happy about it. So the booth in particular was made to promote like robotic characters, which is what I've been modeling. I'm relatively newish to modeling. I've been modeling since like 2021, so this is going to be my second year doing it. And my friends were like saying, "Oh, you should, try to promote it and sell it." And I've been participating in vket for a little while, which is why I did this this time.
Wow. If you've only been doing it for 2 years, looking at the avatar you're in, it looks amazing. Looks like you've been at it for years.
Oh yeah, much appreciated. I figured that robots would be a good start for somebody that was learning new to 3D, because I could cheat by not having to model the mouth. But I ran into all sorts of other problems with having to learn. Like weight painting is a little bit easier, but there's all sorts of aesthetic things you need to get over. Like, how do you express emotion with a character that has no mouth and barely no eyes? So I got tips from people, and I was able to do like eyes or the mouth movements through like the lights, and expressions mostly in accessories like antennas and body movements and stuff like that. So it's been, technical things and design things that I've been able to get over, and I've really been happy with the results. So it's a great place to start for anybody who wants to get into modeling.
So
you're trying to tell me that you were selling these models, and then they got a car oil to go with it? Free oil change for a year for every new model sold. Oh wow! Hell yeah! Well, why not? That's great. Hey, look out! The spark plug is that's another situation, but we will go down that one.
Yeah. What got you into modeling in the first place?
Oh man, a long time ago, I used to mess around with like 3D Studio Max, but it was so complicated and there were so few tutorials on YouTube about it at the time that I kind of like gave up and I went away for a long time. But VRChat, like a lot of people, VRChat during the beginning of the pandemic, made me get back into VR because I was like one of the early adopters of the Quest back when they released the development kit, the DK1 and DK2, right after their Kickstarter. I had those. And back then, my only 3D modeling was like in Google SketchUp. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that program, but it was fun, really easy to use, but it doesn't translate too well into, VR chat. So I tried making a couple of worlds and they were really poorly optimized. And Fred's kept telling me, check out Blender, check out the donut tutorial, which I'm familiar with. A lot of people that, work with 3D are familiar with the donut tutorial. So I picked up that one, picked up another one, and then I started getting to the whole robot thing after learning how to do like worlds and stuff. So that's what got me into 3D, is like being able to make something and see it same day in game. And it's always a great sense of accomplishment. I get that it's a lot of like instant gratification, but it's what drives a lot of people. See other people enjoying the stuff that you make, and you be able to enjoy the stuff that you've always wanted to do.
Wow. Was it a hard thing to get into to get into modeling back when you came back using Blender?
It's like whenever you learn a new program, the biggest problem is always like you have to learn the interface one, and then you learn like the design flow or workflow after that. And for me, it takes a while to learn new things, but after it clicks, if you're able to get through that hurdle of learning both the shortcuts and the menus, and then get into the workflow, then everything else starts to go a lot easier. So if you're persistent enough and you keep at it, you can accomplish what you set out to do. It's that thing, persistency, and keep studying at it, and you'll get it. So for me, it took a while, and like I still consider myself a real kind of a novice because it's not just about the 3D. You've got the texturing, you've got the Unity side of it, and then you have to deal with what VR chat allows and doesn't allow. But once you get past all that, then like the rewards, they come in droves. So it's a very, very fulfilling to be able to get into that market. And I highly recommend for anybody that's been playing VR chat for a long time, that's like the next level, is start making your own characters, your own textures, your own models. It's very worth it.
Wow.
I got a question for him, Line.
Sure.
Actually, I have two, but and we jumped again. What brought you into VR? What actually brought you into VR, and when, and all that jazz? That's the first question.
Well, VR chat specifically, initially the first wave of VR, like when the DK came out, development kit from Oculus, like way back. I don't even remember what year that was. I remember as a kid going to the arcades and trying this VR game that they had there. And it was like a World War I ace pilot game. And I thought it was the most amazing thing. I paid a shit ton of money for it. Apologize. I paid a lot of money for it. I got into the simulator. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And before I knew it, like 10 seconds in, the Red Baron was on my back and I was out. And I no longer, and that was my allowance for that week gone. So as soon as I saw the development come out and I saw some of the demos people were making for it, man, this is exciting. It's affordable. It was like $250 back then. So I saved. I worked. I got the darn thing. And it was all demos. There was no VR chat back at the time. And I remember playing it and having the time of my life with it. But eventually they went out, they came out with a second one, and then you needed a much more powerful computer, and I no longer had the cash for it. So I jumped out. Fast forward years later, and all of a sudden COVID hits. So I'm part of the generation of VR chat players that got pulled into the game because we couldn't leave our houses, right? So COVID made me realize like, okay, I can't travel, which I love to travel whenever I can, like once or twice a year, I try to travel. I can't see my friends. I can't do diddly squat. I'm stuck at home. I need a COVID project. So I saw that, they have the Rift S's available over at my local Walmart. So I rushed down there. So you know what? I'm going to splurge since I'm not doing anything else. I'm not traveling. I'm not spending money on any of that. And I bought myself a headset.
Mm.
And it was amazing. It was amazing because instantly I was connected to all sorts of friends and met all sorts of new group of friends. I mean, anybody that's been in VR chat long enough will tell you that it's a great way to meet people because that a lot of those social barriers that you normally have to go through are like completely removed, and you don't feel as intimidated to go up to somebody and have a conversation because hey, it doesn't work out. It doesn't work out. You can go talk to another group of people.
Mm.
And of course, you know, you have your trolls, you have the people that are great to have conversations with, and it's been a good experience for me all around. So that's pretty much my entrance point at it was COVID.
Mm. Well, yep. Yet another question.
Okay. And my second question, the one I always ask most of the time, when you first came into VR, right? Your very first time getting into VR and you walked into a room, whatever world you hopped into, and all of a sudden you saw that and you're going, no, I got to go. This is way weird. No, no, no. And jumped or whatever. What'd you see? What was the weirdest thing you ever saw when you first got in?
The weirdest thing. Oh man. I mean, hard to tell because I mean, I knew we've all been on social media before because we know exactly what kind of we're gonna expect the best and the worst of everything. So man, the first couple of worlds that I remember visiting were like I would visit because I used to live in Brazil a long time ago. So I looked for the popular maps like the Black Hat at the time and the rooftop, midnight rooftop or whatever. And then I started looking up maps, Brazilian server maps. And the quality of them, for lack of a better term, was they were kind of basic, but they had a lot of people. So it's like, oh man, I wish that I could see better looking things. Now, of course, you've got the little kids running around and screaming. That's par for the course. Always has been. Unfortunately, always will be. So if there was ever a situation where I said, nope, this is not me, is when I would get into a public lobby. And, you know, when we start, we're all going to just the public lobbies because we don't know anybody, where it kind of gets too off the deep end. And then I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just going to go somewhere else because, you know, there's no lack of populated world of VR chat.
Fair point.
Oh, okay, cool.
So you're referring to the lobbies that love the funny 5-letter words.
And other words that begin with certain letters of the alphabet, so to speak. Yeah, that's the kind of things we would run into. In the...
Oh, the one.
Don't get me wrong.
You're talking the one that everybody
out in this world.
You're saying the one that everybody enjoys saying nuclear. I got you. Understand? No problem.
Yes,
I know which way you're going with that one.
That's exactly the word I was thinking about. The nuclear.
Yeah, I got you.
Something Chernobyl moment.
Yes.
Chernobyl. Hey, I'll sell you car insurance for Chernobyl, and don't worry, the nuclear part of it's right there. You understand?
Still more toxic than Black Cat. So, what?
Now that I remember, the first time I ever got into VR chat. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
the first time I ever got into VR chat was like I had literally just bought the Rift F. So that's like great. I haven't even thought of VR chat yet. Great, I got VR again. This is exciting. What am I going to do first? I looked at my bank account. I was like completely wiped out because I had just spent $300 and something on the Rift S. Okay, well, let's see what's free. Free demo VR chat. All right, I'll give it a go. So I jumped in, and I don't even know how many hours I've had. The most, as they say, the most expensive free game you're ever going to buy.
Oh yeah. Oh, I wonder what this thing is. I saw a funny meme on the internet, something about a Knuckles. I get myself a Quest. The next thing you know, your bank account is crying, and you really want to put it in the retirement home at this point. Be a little cheaper at that. I definitely understand. So, with the conversation we had earlier, where you were talking about you had a booth at VCAT, what was your experience getting involved with VCAT like, and getting your booth for both your mekamart and the cafe?
So actually, this ties in really well to when I started playing VR chat. So I loaded up VR chat, and on the world listing, there was a special highlighted or featured, which was virtual market. And I forget which virtual market it was. It's probably like virtual market 5 or 4 or something. And it was like a bunch of different worlds. And so I'm going to explore this, see what this is. And I found all these amazing worlds of people that were selling stuff. And I thought it was commonplace that I didn't realize it was a limited time event. So I would explore for a couple of days and check out everything. And eventually, um, after the event ended, I wanted to, whoop, there goes my arm. I wanted to see if I could find out more about the event in question. So I kept tabs on their Discord. And the next time they had an event coming up the following year, I signed up for it, and I was lucky enough to get a spot because spots in vket are very limited, and there's a high competition rate for them. So I was very lucky to get a spot. And when I started out, I wasn't really at the point where I was selling my own avatar. So what I decided to do was promote another project that I work on, because aside from doing 3D stuff, I'm also like a comic artist and do a lot of illustration work. And I had just started a project a year prior to COVID. We actually launched it in like July of 2019 at Anthrocon, which was the Kemono Cafe. And the Kemono Cafe is a hub of webcomic artists. And we have about 9 to 10 comic artists right now producing about 14 or so comics. And I wanted to be able to start promoting that on Vrchat, which I found myself playing a lot of. And I did have one of the organizers or the people that participate say, "Oh yeah, you should definitely come. VCat's a great place to participate. We even have like a comic VCat that you can invite your friends to." So I started making a model of our main mascot, Sandy, and I got her into the game. And then I made a representation of the Kemono Cafe, which is the cafe house that acts as a hub world between all these different comics. And I had a really great feedback from that. People seemed to really enjoy it, because one of the things that I did is I actually showed up in person in the mascot avatar that I had created. And I had a pre-recorded script, which we hired a voice actress to do for us. And I would basically play the part of Sandy, which is the mascot of the character. And it was amazing, because a lot of people were seeing something like that for the first time, because you don't normally go to a VCat and expect to see it manned by a person. So people thought I was a bot or AI. They would react saying, because I would even play the game with them. I would do the whole hello thing and do the presentation, and then at the end of it, just stay still. And they're like turning to each other, so like, is that a bot? Is that AI? And just like, sometimes I would, break character and scare them and everything, but I would stay mute at that point, because I didn't really want to break the fourth wall. And people really seem to get a kick out of it. So ever since then, I've been lucky enough to be able to participate at every VCat, either through representing Virtual Market or now doing the mekamart, which was the first time that I tried to do this. And it's been amazing. It's been really a fun learning experience for me.
Wow. That's such a pretty awesome story. With Mekamart specifically, is that just a place of a collection of your avatars, may I ask? Or is that like a specific idea or place?
So during the virtual market summer, because virtual market or VCat does more than just the virtual market themselves. They also have music VCat, which is one specifically for music creators, and they have one for comic creators that happens in like early March. So after the summer VCat ended, the Kemono Cafe booth actually won a contest of like the best or most popular booth. We got voted as popular booth for that. And during the music VCat, they gave us the opportunity to make an exhibition at the virtual market. Now, because it's a Japanese company, there was a little bit of translation issue going back and forth, and I thought they were actually going to give me a booth there. So, because the world was this futuristic cyberpunk type world, I redesigned the Kemono Cafe as a cyber world, updated it, gave it like matrix images and like, I updated the feel of it from being your Victorian era, the coffee house, to like a sci-fi in the future. But halfway through it, they explained to me, no, it's not going to be an actual prop. It's not going to be an actual booth. It's just going to be something that's going to be floating in the world. So I said, okay. So one of the props that I had made was actually the robot avatar, which is the Fiverr, which is the featured avatar in the Mekamart booth. So Fiverr, or the whole idea for Mekamart, started off as a simple prop that I had made for like a promo basic promo. But people, when I showed them the prop, they said, "Wow, that's actually pretty cool. You should make that into an avatar," which I did. And then mekamart came into play, and I figured, well, what better way to promote something than having like a low poly or very excellent rated avatar as being the main showcase of it all. And through that, be able to promote, both Clover and Kalia, which are my two other robot avatars. So that's kind of how that came into play. Just one thing led to another,
So I do have a question about your booth. Was the animation you have set with the elevator? Was that how did you make that? Because it doesn't look like it moves, but it feels like it does.
So the basic concept of the mekamart, it started it off as an exterior aesthetic. I like to do stuff beyond the scope of what vket normally allows. Now, for those of you that have been to the vket before, the booths are usually small. We have a space of 4 by 4 by 5 meters. And I'm guessing in feet that would be what, like 12 by 12 feet by about 15 feet high. So it's very limited. It's like a small 2-story space. But I was never one for limitations. I grab what they give me and I do what I can to kind of use like non-Euclidean space where I have more than's actually offered. So for in the case of Kemono Cafe, you would be wandering around her house, and when you would click on a button on a doorknob, it would change the model of the inside the room and teleport you somewhere else. So if you were on your own, you honestly believed that you were being teleported to another room and another room and another room and another room. And after a little while, I'm like, this guy should have run out of space a long time ago. How the heck is the booth this big? But like last year, I had a friend that was visiting from overseas. He's a developer for content here on Vrchat. And he had looked into what I was doing and he thought it was pretty cool. And I told him, it's like, man, I really wish I could have more space than I'm showing without having to force the people to go into another room, because it still was kind of limiting. So basically he sat down, and this guy was pretty genius at doing these things. And he sat down, and within like 2 days, he had coded like a prototype of you being able to move through a still object camera, and the entire world was moving around him. And I asked him, well, that's pretty simple. You can just do that. And then he showed me, no, check this out. And he would zoom out, and you see that the entire world was enclosed in a little box.
Oh.
And it was all compressed into this space. So it doesn't break the rules. And it's something that Virtual Market allows in their PC worlds, not the Quest, but the PC worlds. So I wanted to use that initially with Kemono Cafe, but I wasn't able to during the summer event. So if you go in the summer event, at the very last booth, you see you're in a train, but the walls that show the stuff going by, it's actually a YouTube video, which is an interesting solution in itself to deal with it, but wasn't quite what I wanted. We just didn't have enough time to apply it there. But when Virtual Market Winter came around and I wanted to do the VCAT, I told him, dude, let's apply this. This is going to be awesome. I think it'll be really cool to showcase it in this form. And the first thing that came to mind, and what a lot of people will know and will remember, is the famous, Half-Life 1 avatar, which imitates the introduction to the Half-Life 1 game, where you're going into Black Mesa as Gordon Freeman for the first time, and you're wandering around the Black Mesa compound as you're arriving late for work to basically end humanity as we know it. But that aside, I thought that would be a pretty good premise to start. And I had wanted to have a presentation live, but I would realize that I was a bit tired of doing live, and I knew that I couldn't reach as many people. So instead of doing it live, I got an AI to do the introduction. So instead of in the Half-Life 1 concept where you have a basic voice that's just reading the day's announcements, you actually have an avatar, which is the M800 Tram AI, which is introducing you to the facilities of Mekamart, which is the underground platform for saving all of machine kind, so to speak.
Wow.
So that's where that basic came from.
Wow, that's actually
and everything cool basically one thing rolled into the other. We started off with like the hangar space, and then we started adding more and more according to what time allowed. So I had a lot more ideas, but I never was able to actually apply all of them because we were really rushed for time. VCAT only really gives you like 2 weeks to make everything. To test. So I had been working on it for about a month, but the actual application and testing process, I only really had like 2 weeks or so to make work. So that was something.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a really awesome solution to what you were looking for. I enjoyed the entire presentation. I honestly thought I was in a completely other room. You got me baffled from the beginning.
Immersion, I think immersion in virtual reality is the whole point of it, right?
Mm,
I mean, you go into it, you get to pick your avatar, you get to see everything with volume, and that's whoever picks up VR from having on a PC will have that immersion, and whoever picks up full body from having going VR will have that additional bump in immersion. But being able to be in a world and be fascinated by it is something that I find amazing. It's harder. It gets harder and harder for us as individuals being used to VR chat to see, wow, that's amazing, or how did that happen? Because we're used to seeing things. So things like
mm,
the we were talking about infinity walking later. I love stuff like that because it gives other people a sense of wonder that gets harder and harder to have.
mm,
And like the immersion part for mekamart, that was my number one goal. I want people to feel immersed because once they're immersed, they're enjoying themselves, and if they're enjoying
mm,
themselves, you got their attention.
mm,
And thanks to that, I was able to get I had like a 5 to 7 minute retention in virtual market, where
mm,
normally you have people that are walking by the booth, they're going to spend like 30 seconds more or less. But
mm,
for somebody to sit down and watch a 7 minute, what basically is a disguised 7 minute commercial,
mm.
hey, they get a kick out of it. They love it, and but it serves all parties. So I think that the additional effort was definitely worth it was definitely worth it for both
Mm.
me and them.
Mm. Well, for a 7-minute commercial, it was very well done. I was very entertained by the whole thing. I'm sure everyone else was too, especially since it, as Raptor says, breaks up the monotony of single booth, couple of pictures, maybe an avatar you can click, and then you'll finally end up on your booth and you go on an entire scripted adventure, which definitely made your booth stand out a lot. And I can't wait to see what you do in the future with your booths. To be honest, I was entertained.
I think that's the most challenging thing. Now, don't get me wrong, there
Mm.
are amazing works at Virtual Market,
Oh yeah.
and my booth is rather than the exception in the rule because you have to understand that I really went way outside the scope of what they had in
Mm.
mind for the event. So I don't blame anybody else for not being able to do that because really the idea is for you to showcase the avatars that you're doing. And that's kind of like what it's been. There are some ones, especially at this virtual market, that really did some amazing things.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know if you went to some of the new Eden or Fallen Eden. I think it was Fallen Eden worlds, the big box ones, where they
Yeah.
had like a crane that would pick up all you can interact with stuff, and they had one that showcased an entire RPG world. Oh,
Mm.
and some of those were amazing. And they had some booths which really fascinated me that showcased new technologies as far as like improved hand tracking
Mm.
for index users. And one that had like the people that did the movies within VR chat, and that's something I really want to see more of is people making like film
Mm.
content within VR chat. The people that can do that, absolutely amazing. Highly recommend checking them out. I don't remember the name of
Wait,
the group right
is
now,
it
but
Metacosm
we can look it up.
Studios?
It is really good. That's the one. That's the one. That's them. That was the only other thing where I could tell you I stood in there and I watched the entire thing and I wanted to have gone seeing it again because I absolutely loved the stuff that they made. Yeah. Oh,
Mm.
and of course, like there's a ton of groups. Like the LPD was there. They had their own booth. The Kmart people were there, and they had like a bunch of group events. So virtual market becomes such an amazing place for
Mm.
you to meet all people within VR chat, and it's a great point of connection between both the Japanese community and the English-speaking
English, yeah.
community and international community as well. Because I had some people that we had a Japanese version of the whole mekamart experience, and that wouldn't have been possible without Hiaza and Potato staying with me until like 5:30 in the morning the day of delivery, helping me translate. Because if you ever try translating anything into Japanese using Google Translate, you know the translation's not the best. So they, through the kindness of their hearts, went above and beyond and helped me out with getting it. And the Japanese community seemed to have absolutely loved it, their efforts as a result. So I'm very happy with that too.
Mm. You know, with a lot of the booths I saw this year at VCAT Winter, one of them, other than yours, stood out as well. It was a comic, online comic booth, and you walk up. It's like a dark box, and you see 3 TVs. You click on the TVs, and 3 avatars wave at you, and the other one pops out of TV and waves you in. And it fooled me. I was like, "Ooh, this is cool. What do I do?" And I go over and I touch it, and then you're just in a completely other world. It's like, "Whoa, what is this? This is cool." That was another booth I enjoyed watching.
And yeah, I know. I got a lot of people telling me about that booth too, and that one was also pretty amazing. It uses a technology similar to what I had, but has a different application, which is another great thing about VCAT, is because you have the same technologies and your imagination is the limit of what you can do with it. So they use the thing of the people walking through, and then finally the hand reaches out through the TV screen, and like the little indicator says, "Click me," and then you click on it, and you get transported to the outer world in a similar fashion. Typically what what my booth does and what theirs did is it takes you to the second floor of the booth itself, where you get to see this whole other experience. But I absolutely love that one. You know, being a person that advertises comics on VCAT as well, it's great to see other people doing that. I'm very happy to have seen other artists like showcasing their work. It's not just avatars.
You know, feel really bad. I don't remember the name of the person whose booth that belonged to, because I'd love to give them a shout out for people to look out for. I thought it was cool. It was one of the coolest booths I saw. Yours, that one, were the 2 of the ones in the entire VCAT that stood out to me from the beginning. Most definitely.
Now, virtual market, if you ever want to look up any of the booths that you've seen before, and I know that it's offline right now, but eventually, 2 things. One, virtual market booths eventually do get put back up again. They have to take them down to do some maintenance, remove some stuff that only works during VCAT, like the URL links, which can't operate outside. A special permission that Vrchat gives for events like virtual market. But when while they don't come back up, you can actually visit VCAT, the VCAT's website. Just type virtual marketing into Google, and you'll be able to see all the world, and you can find your creators there together with their booths and all their information. So if there's any booths that you really enjoyed seeing and you wanted to see their products again, just go on Virtual Market's website and you should be able to look them up, no problem. All you need to know is the world, and it's pretty obvious because they showcase all the images and stuff from that too. Or of course YouTubers, because there's a ton of them, and YouTubers, so many people, I got so many clips. I didn't even have to record myself. I got so many clips from like VTubers that went through the booth. It was, I got like 4 hours worth of footage. Still have to process, but it's another great way for, if you did miss out VCAT and you're waiting for the worlds to come back, just visit a couple of these YouTubers, and they're fantastic for going through the booths and giving their opinions and testing out the avatars and such.
What are some of those YouTubers and VTubers that you saw that go through VCAT? Because I'm not familiar.
Oh my God! Off the top of my head, I wouldn't be able to remember all of them, because again, there were so many that I recorded. The downside is I don't do too much of Twitch, and I just recently found out and realized that Twitch videos only stay up for like 2 weeks. So most of the people that did do recording for virtual market, their videos are no longer up on Twitch themselves, but the YouTube apparently keeps their archives for a lot longer, so you can always go on YouTube. So the ones that I know that I could tell you, I don't think they're no longer up, but yeah, YouTube would be a good place for that. And off the top of my head, I can't remember one from the other. So yeah, just check it out. There's a lot of people that just type out VCAT winter and just order by like previous month, because it all happened in December, so it was the past month. They're all still going to be up.
So going to the Kemono Cafe, does that have any VR chat events or things you do with that, or is that straight Discord for the online comic community? Sorry, Raptor.
So for the Kemono Cafe, we have the webcomic site. You have a kemono.cafe. That's the website. And all our booths from previous VCATs are up again. If you just search for Kemono Cafe, or if you search for VCAT, and I can probably give you a listing of the different booth worlds that we've been in before, you can visit, and they're all very similar. They get more and more developed as time goes by and as I learned more. But mainly most of our main stuff is done on our website. There's been talk of making something more permanent within VRChat itself, but I've been going back and forth through so many projects that it's become a little bit hard. But I wanted to do something like a Disney World-ish type of world within VRChat, where each comic gets represented by a quote-unquote different land. And that was a cool idea because every comic has its iconic area, or iconic house, or building your rooftop or spaceship or whatever. And I thought that would translate really well into what VRChat offers, to be able to have that immersion into the comic itself. And you can see a couple of examples of comics so far. But you know, if you've ever worked for world creation, it can be quite a task. And VRChat likes to break things every so often.
Yep.
So the idea of having to maintain yet another world was like daunting to me. It's like I prefer to do the virtual market and just update people on the new one than create a world that's not going to be visited that often just for advertising purposes. But you never know. It might be something I do in the future.
You never know. People will always be willing to visit things, especially if it gives them something to remember. They usually share it by word of mouth. That's how I find a lot of the worlds I've been to. Is people like, oh, cool, there's this one world with this one thing. Maybe it's the lighting. Maybe it's a really cool giant sun animation. And they'll talk about it and share it. You had a question, Raptor? Sorry, I read over you a little bit.
Yeah, I like your fucking method. Yeah, he's going to run over me, folks. He's going to step on me. No, the question I had, it dawned on me after you guys were talking and everything else like this. I was in the booth. I forgot all about it, but I wasn't with Line. I was with somebody else, and I remember. But with the characters that you have made, have you ever thought of taking the characters that you're doing and making it into a comic or video or something like that? Because the way you've got 3 different styles, and they're almost like an anime cartoon situation.
Now, the character, which is Sandy, which is the mascot for the Kemono Cafe, she does have her own comic that you would have to go to kemono.cafe to read. And it's more of a story, an illustrated story. It doesn't get quite to be the level of comic, but because of time constraints and me being involved in so many things at the same time, because aside from all of this, I do actually have a full-time job. So my time is a little bit limited between 3D modeling, animating, doing voice lines, planning vket booths, doing, web comics, administrating a webcomic hub. Yeah, we kind of like run out of time. And of course, I have other hobbies that I enjoy to do as well. So yes, there is a comic for Sandy, and I do want to do more with it because at one point I started working with animation, and some of the booths showcase some of the animation works I've done with Sandy. They were using like basically live 2D. It's what most of the 2D VTubers use.
Yeah.
And that was great for a while because it became a lot of work to do, and obviously I don't have the voice to do Sandy. It just didn't really go anywhere. So it was like I made a solution for a problem that didn't really exist, but it's there. I mean, I could hire the voice actress to do stuff, and we have done that in past, and we do have a little couple of like 3 or 4 animated segments that host the voice actress, and she is fantastic. She does amazing work. Voice actors, they really bring the project home. But I just couldn't. It was a bit too expensive for me to do continuously and a lot of work. Animating like 5 seconds would take me a couple of hours, and it becomes a bit too much, which is another reason why I thought 3D would be a great way to do it. Because of course, I spent 100 hours creating a 3D model of a character, in it being that I'm still I was a novice at 3D modeling at the time. But once it's done, it's done. All the other animation is like just movement and expression of your character, and all you need to do after that is just have the voice actress do the play.
Wow. So is there any story or lore behind mekamart from that you've kind of, if you've created any, may I ask?
And hang on. Yep, there we go. Oh, parts need a firmware update. Sorry. Anyway, yes. So what happened was,
Talking to me, you needed to gain a WD-40.
I think I'm gonna need that WD-40, folks. This is. Hang on a second.
Keep smacking that
Hang
arm.
on.
It'll straighten itself out and go, hi, I'm talking to you.
Let me do an update here. Okay, there we go. All right, now I'm good. I'm good now.
That's the cool
So,
My God.
I do the
Hey, you had
Amos,
to
man.
check
You gotta
underneath the
access. You had
hood.
to
That's what it is. You just popped the hood and looked in and going, yeah, it's that one
Yeah, I
right
see the
there.
problem.
That spark plug wire's loose. I gotta, yeah, I'll fix that later. Hook it back up and you're ready to go. Gotcha.
put some more. Dang, nabbit. Anyway,
Loose
so
wire. Loose
arm
wire.
aside. So when we got when like you have to put your name in a hat to get a spot at vket, right? So this virtual market had a couple of worlds that were cyber related, and I applied for 2 spots, one for the Quest world and one for nabbit. And one for the Quest world and one for the PC world. So the Quest world, basically what happened with the Quest world was that I didn't get the spot. It was too competitive, too many people applied for it, you had a limited amount, but that was okay. When I got the PC world, I was like between doing mekamart and doing the actual Kemono Cafe. And I decided to end up going with the mekamart because the lore of the world, this particular world was called World End Utopia. And the lore of the world had a very interesting lore. There was a machine, it was a machine man society, and men built up machines to service them and help them evolve and whatever. I got to one point where there ended up being a war between man and machine, and both sides lost. The machines had developed a super weapon called the Nemesis Project, and which was a series of towers located throughout 7 locations on the planet. And during the final battle, this got activated and basically wiped out all of mankind and all of robots. The few survivors managed to start building up society again, and the whole idea of the world is it's post-apocalyptic. VCAT 4, a previous virtual market, had used World End Utopia, and it was VCAT 4. And this one, I think they switched from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they went to 2001, 2, 3. So for this particular one, 23 winter, they brought back World End Utopia, which was a really popular map from back in the day. And the premise of this one is that it's a prequel to the first one. And the tower had detected that society was beginning to rebuild and was reactivating itself. So the idea is that the tower is going to ignite and destroy the world again. And your job is to find a way to keep that from happening. And the 2 versions of the world are 3980 and 4010, which are 30 years apart. So you visit the first world basically is a time capsule. You're basically a time traveling tourist. That's the idea of the world. And they take you first to the first world and then the second world. And if you go through the second world without solving the puzzle, the world at the end gets destroyed again. But if you solve it and successfully retrieve the deactivation code key, at the end you get a completely different ending where you save the world. It's not too much different one ending from the other, but it is nice because it involves time travel, involves puzzle solving, there's a little bit of parkour involved. So it's something you usually don't expect in your regular virtual market. So it's really cool. Kiki loves to do this with a lot of their worlds, so there's always stuff hidden behind it if you care to look more. So my particular booth, going back to your question, is the fact that I wanted to make my lore be lore friendly, my booth be lore friendly. So it gave people an excuse to want to explore more. So because of the nature of how VCAT works, they don't get too much time to either through translation difficulties or because they have to streamline it a lot. They don't really get to explain what goes on. So my booth alternates between explaining what's going on in the world and why mekamart is there and what it is they're trying to do. So in the introduction, they basically say, hey, look, 100 years ago, the war happened, and we found out that the weapon's about to go off again, and we don't know how to shut it off. So what are we going to do? How do you stop a weapon that gets activated by uncontrolled robot construction? And Mekamart's solution, like most corporations, just build bigger robots. Let's just make them bigger. But we're not going to activate them, so it doesn't count, right? Good. We're going to build we've got a lot of pollution. Let's build a shit ton of cars. Let's just not turn them on. But when we're ready, we're going to turn them all on at the same time, and then we'll be powerful enough that we'll win, right? So that's kind of the problem.
Yeah.
So they build these shit ton of robots, and in the meantime, they're trying to get you, a fellow robot investor, to buy into what they're doing. Because then if you purchase their products, you get to, and their solution being not just hiding underground, but actually escaping to outer space. Because how do you escape a doomsday weapon that's going to destroy the entire planet? Well, go somewhere else. And that's exactly what they do. And you get to see the scene with all the spaceships taking off, Star Wars style. And basically that's the idea. It's like, buy a robot suit, get saved, come back later, in a whole like Wall-E fashion. Yeah, we'll take a cruise for a while and then come back and everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. And that's not quite what ends up happening at the end, is it? So, and that was the basic premise. It's like we put a little bit of the lore and a lot of the story, and we go ahead and sell the product in the meantime. So, everybody wins.
Wow. How long did it take you to make that lore? To like write it to be lore friendly, write it all down, and have your world betray that?
Whoa. Hi, folks. You folks come and join us on our social and on our Discord. We would love to see you there. We have a Patreon, and we have 2 people that have signed on, Training Fangs and Zero. And I hope we get to see you there, folks. We appreciate the time and effort that you make. And my ball's getting out of here because it needs new rubber. Bye.
Specifically.
So I was only really able to get started once I found out that I had the spot. Because other than that, there was really no way of knowing. VCAT raffle comes up several months before the actual event. Because you have the raffle, and then you have a secondary raffle, and then you have to pay for the booth. The booths aren't expensive. They're like $30. So it's really worthwhile for anybody that's thinking about getting one. But once I knew the world I wanted, then I started developing the idea. Now, granted, a lot of the technology that I needed to make this work hadn't been tested in game yet. So I was doing a lot of it on hope and a prayer that it would have worked. And fortunately, it all came together. But as I did it, and like I said, we only had like 2 weeks to actually test this thing. Once, so I started about a month and a half before. Once I knew I had the spot, I started modeling it. But I only really got seriously into modeling it once we were at the last like 3 weeks before the actual event. And then it basically just putting it in the game, testing it out, adjusting it. And like you said, the story and the scripting and the lore, a lot of that was the very last minute because I didn't know how much I was going to be able to do. And a good friend of mine told me, it's like, you make the beginning, you make the end, and then with the time you have left, you keep filling in more and more and more in the middle up until the time that it's not too long. So there were other ideas I had. There could have been a lot more that I could have done, but I didn't. It was just a matter of time at that point.
Fair.
So that's pretty much the script. The script came after I had I know I had this section, this section. So what are they going to say in each one of these sections? So then I basically recorded each of the, and that's all my voice acting, by the way, on the whole ride.
Wow.
And I used an AI voice changer to actually make the voices work that way. I would have hired the same voice actress, bless her soul, she's amazing. But there just wasn't enough time at the end. It was all way too dynamic. I had to like change things on the fly. Stuff wouldn't fit. And I just didn't have time to work with her. And I will try to next time. But this time I just had to use an AI for it.
Wow. So, wow, that's actually pretty impressive. I had no idea that it was last minute. The whole thing, and especially after you explained the lore as well, it felt very planned. It felt like you knew what you're doing with the entire show. At least that's how I portray it. And it's quite impressive to hear that with the time you had, you pulled off something as interesting and immersive as it was.
Yeah, we had a lot of I had a basic idea of what was going to be said. First part, talk about the lore. Second part, introduce the main robot and what it is that we're doing. Third part, advertise a bit more. Fourth part, question mark. Fifth part, question mark. Sixth part, if sell the final product, seventh part, the end. And it basically became a premise of, oh, what would be cool? Like I thought, oh man, this scene from Star Wars would be amazing. Where I thought it was like Revenge of the Sith, the last of the three prequels, where you see all the Star Destroyers taking off. It's like I want to do something like that, and then it was like finding the technical solutions of how to do that, and then trying to so how do I fit this into the story? Oh yeah, they're going to escape. That's how they get away. A lot of it fell into place very much at the end. And I'd be very thankful because I had a lot of friends that gave me great feedback. I mean, I did pretty much all the 3D modeling, the animation, and a lot of that stuff. But I had friends that helped me so much with giving me good feedback as far as ideas for like illumination or how to get people to go in or what can I put here and there. And of course, like I mentioned before, the holospace technology, which DX30 actually developed, which is what's on the outside of the booth. A lot of people think that it's the new imposter system for VRChat, but it's actually something that he developed himself, which it's basically a photo booth that takes a 2D picture of you from the front, the side, and it can create a 3D model of you based on that 2D image. And it's also video compatible, and it's also Quest compatible. Initially, I was just going to have a holographic version of Fiverr, which is the robot I'm advertising, walking around and presenting everything. But when we were having trouble getting it to work within the limitations of vket, then we swapped out for the whole AI thing. And I'm thankful that I did because it worked out. But he's also the person that helped me with the stencil shader, which is what allows the larger world to be exhibited in the inside. So Holospace isn't that, but it is developed by the same person. So that's where I got like most of the help came from, was from that and from friends giving me input. But aside from that, like the voices and the modeling and all of that, that's something that I had to basically rely on myself to do. And of course, the translation, which I'm extremely appreciative of.
So I do have another question on your on the 7-minute show you did. Is that all animated as in like 2D, or is that like 3D rendered going through? Like, did you hand make that? Like the whole what you see outside the box?
So what you're seeing is all there. It's all happening. There is a whole model in there. Similar to because something that people it's easy to forget in when it comes to VR chat and virtual reality is that distance is just an illusion. You're not as tall as you are compared to how tall I am in real life. And the same thing applies to pretty much anything you're seeing. What's out there doesn't necessarily has no meaning. So basically what we did was, and this is really simplifying it. The entire factory model exists and it's animated as you're going through it, but the model isn't as big as it is because obviously we have the constraints of size. But the model is actually a lot smaller and it's embedded inside the booth. You just can't see it due to shader magic. So that's basically what we did. We got that small model and we project it, so to speak, into a full scale thing within the rules of vket. So we're not breaking any rules. We're just bending them slightly. So the idea of with vket is it doesn't interfere with what anybody else is doing, which is what the great thing is.
So even though you may be really pushing the boundaries and testing, I thought it was really well done. And thank you for making that. It was very awesome to see. Oh. Oh. So
yeah, I mean, it was quite the experience, and it gave me so many ideas for what I can do in the future. Because a lot of people's minds were blown once they realized, like, wait a second, usually the first reaction is when they go in is like, wait, there's nothing here, and then the doors open and like, wait, what the heck's happening? And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, how the heck did they do this? That sort of thing. And then they get interested in the story. So you amaze them with like the technology, and then you get them invested with the story, and then you sell the product. And that's basically how it rolled out, and we're rolled out very well in that aspect. But the idea is what I realized is there's things that I could have done that I only realized after the event. But that's great because ideas for next time. Like I spent the better part of the day watching all sorts of epic sci-fi, so I can get ideas for what I'm going to do with the next one. And that's the real challenge of virtual market is like, or doing something like what I'm doing. It's like, okay, you've done this thing, but people are going to say, it's like, okay, so what else can you show me? How else are you going to impress me? It's like, oh my God, I don't know what else to do. I gave everything I could for that one. What the heck am I going to do for the next one? So I have ideas, but again, it means applying the technology, having the time to doing it, not burning yourself out while you're doing all these other sorts of things. So I have some pretty cool ideas. It's just a matter of, am I going to be able to apply them in time? And will people find enough interest to actually, be surprised the way they were the last time? I guess that's a real challenge right now.
Okay. Wow. I can't wait to see what you got planned for next year. I'm going to be looking for your booth personally, just to see what it is.
Hopefully, now again, it's not guaranteed because, of course, I still have to compete because Hickory's the company that makes vket. They're extremely fair with their booth raffles. Absolutely nobody gets preferential treatment. So I might not even get a booth. I don't know. I've been very lucky these past couple of ones, but if I don't get one, it's not a problem. I'll still be working on mine, and it'll just make the next, because the specs from what you can do from one to the other typically don't change too much. So I can start developing it now, and even if I don't get it for this summer, there's always the winter event next time. And the way I'm planning it right now is I'm thinking about doing Kemono Cafe during the summer and then mekamart during the winter. That way I don't overburden myself with doing too many.
Smart.
Trying to do too many things, and it becomes something that's possible to do. Now, if you've been to virtual market, you notice that there's the small booths and there's the ones that have the larger booths too. I thought about doing larger booths, but as a single developer, I've realized that I can excel more if I have less to work with, because it means that I'm not going crazy by overdoing stuff that's beyond the scope of what I'm capable of doing. But that's another benefit of working small, is you force yourself to be very inventive with what you're given.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see and understand that greatly. So you mentioned you were thinking about doing your Kemono Cafe booth for summer. May I ask for about some plans of what you may want it to look like? Have any ideas?
Well, now that I have the technology working, that was a big thing that took a lot of time during the previous vket, is getting the technology working to have that space. Now that I have that technology working, I can start from a point much further ahead. So again, there's a lot of modeling I need to do, because the stuff for even the stuff for mekamart, if I made another booth, it would be entirely new. I have this whole space opera thing planned. Think Macross, Robotech, Space Battleship Yamato, Star Wars. Not giving too much away, but like Star Fox. I want to get a lot of like sci-fi spaceship battles, sort of, because now they've gone to space, right? That's the next chapter. What are they going to do in space? And it also depends a lot on what kind of worlds are available and if you can get one. Now, for the Kemono Cafe, now that I can actually show more than the limits of a 4x4 by 2.5 box, I can actually put you into the worlds. So that whole idea about making a Disney World of the Kemono Cafe with all the different worlds, now I can actually do something like that. I just have to figure out a way to do it in a way that's not motion sickness inducing. That was a real problem. How do you get people to move? How do you get the world to move around you without having too much motion sickness? And the tram idea works really well, because the tram goes very slowly and turns even slower. But for a cafe, I think that the best part is, if you've seen the booth, you notice that there's a train ride, right? So basically, the main aspect of it would be you riding a train and seeing stuff as it goes by. But I don't want to just do another booth. I don't want to do just another tram ride. So there's other ideas and concepts I'm working with that might be really interesting, but I don't want to give too much away with it in a spoiler. But to lead the basic thing is, like, the Kemono Cafe is a hub world which connects all different comic universes, right? So the basic idea is that you arrive at this hub world through a train, which is conducted by a rabbit character, which is Kona. and she's going to be your guide through all this world. So Sandy might actually show up, or if she does, she's just going to show up as a side character. Nekonny is going to be the main focus of this one, as she is your guide through all the different comic universes.
Hmm.
So that's the basic idea.
So what are some of these comic universes that are built in? What are some of the comics that Kemono Cafe holds?
So we have, like I said, we have a lot of comic artists that do a lot of comic work. Let's see, we have some. I'll list off a couple, and and I'm not going to list all of them because we have quite a few. But we have Chalo Dillo that does Las Lindas, which is a slice of life farm-based comic, which is developing to like this epic good versus evil struggle. We have a space. We have a couple of space opera comics which deal with bounty hunters. We have gender bender comics which have been lots of fun too. We have stuff like we have even comics in like the Charlie Brown style. Kemono Cafe, it's mostly furry comics, but not exclusively. We have comics that are complete, comics that are star, comics in black and white. We have old westerns. We have school life, slice of life stories. We have comics like Beheathium, which are like high fantasy comics. So we have a little bit of everything. I mean, if you enjoy comics in general and are into like furry art, even if you're not, they are all fantastic stories, and I highly recommend it. I also have a couple of stories of my own in there, so yeah, just check those out as well.
Oh, well, I know I'll be sure to check them out. Experiencing your booth and how well you wrote that story, I can only imagine what your stories and comics look like. I'll be more than happy to check them out. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, go in the description. Yep. So, shameless. But I don't care. I'll do it anyway. Going down there, pause the video, go in the who's and what's it.
Do check it out. Do check it out. They put an amazing amount of work into these, and I've known some of these artists for about 20 years now. And just the degree of like everything in life, you work on it, you develop a lot, and they're really dedicated to what they do. Some of these artists do this stuff full time, and even the ones that don't still have an amazing work ethic. And webcomics is an art. I won't say it's not a dying art style, but it's something that people don't appreciate as much as they used to. With like as much as they used to, because you got YouTube, a lot of instant gratification stuff. But for you to see a story develop over a number of years and get to know the characters and be very involved with them, that is something that is amazing in itself. And some of these comic worlds like really pull you in. So if you like the immersion thing, that's a great place to start.
Yeah, I used to read a lot of those old web comics back in the day, like during the Newgrounds days and that era when some of those things are starting to develop under a very different art style at the time. But I enjoyed those. They were very interesting, and coming from a time where I was looking for free stuff to read, it was great. And I can't wait to see what Kemono Cafe has in store. Oh.
Yeah, no, we've been at it for we started in July of 2019, so we're like 4.5 years now, and we're not stopping. We got a new developer in house now, and we have a lot of support from the community, and we have a lot of friends that we used to work with that we don't work with anymore, or more in the sense like they have their own websites, but it's a very tight-knit community. We have a lot of people that we work with, a lot of other comic artists that are on our site, and it's been a great experience overall for us. And like I said, we do live events as well. We're not restricted to the virtual world. So we've been at Anthrocon in Midwest, which is more of the market for what we have. And we've had displays there. That's actually where the whole idea of like the model railroad used to be. Like the very first one we went to, I actually set up a model railroad with an actual working train.
Oh, wow.
Now, granted, the train stopped working after a couple loops because I didn't realize this, but all the fur from the fursuiters actually started clogging up the engines, and I didn't have WD-40 at the time, so I couldn't get that fixed. But it's like, I love doing these kind of displays ever since back then. And like in this July, we were actually at Anthrocon again, and I had a dual screen display with a wireless connection to virtual market. And I had a friend of mine that was doing the acting for Sandy, and she was there interacting with the guests that were at the event.
Oh,
So I
wow.
love these things which kind of like allow the virtual and the real to kind of like intermingle with each other, because you could interact with the character and say hello, and it was really awesome. And I hope to be able to do that again.
So sorry, let's start with, what was getting involved with Anthrocon like with Kemono Cafe, and how did you get involved with them?
So Anthrocon or Kemono Cafe, because Anthrocon I had already participated as myself as an artist, because I did do a lot of illustration work before. The other arm's starting to act up. So I did actually have a couple of conventions that I used to go to, because that's the thing with it artists. Like you sell a lot of stuff online, but conventions are an amazing place for you not only to meet friends and other people in the community, but it's an awesome place for you to do networking as well. And networking in the art community is extremely important, because spreading your stuff through word of mouth is a great way for you to get your name out there. So I always sold my own things, but when I started the Kemono Cafe back in 2019, I thought, well, Anthrocon would be a great way for us to showcase ourselves to the greater community, because at that time the VR really wasn't as big as it is nowadays. I mean, it was getting there, and COVID was going to happen a year later, so it hadn't really taken it off. But I did the display, and it was very focused on the Kemono Cafe. And it worked out really well, because we had a really good feedback as far as people being able to see the comics we had on offer and how everything was working out. But eventually I realized that, after COVID came into play, we switched to doing an online thing. I don't know if I would still do real events as often as I did. But something I've realized, that when you go to these events like Anthrocon, especially Anthrocon in the last Midwest, there are an amazing number of people that recognize us from vket, that do VRchat. And having the display there that showed us having a presence in VRchat was something that called a lot of people in. So there is a lot of cross-section interest between one world and another.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I had no idea that both like furry conventions like Anthrocon or MFF had that much of a cross-pollination within VRchat.
Yeah, no, it's surprising how many people. I mean, if anybody's ever looked at the price of what a fursuit actually can cost, it's a lot cheaper to do it in VRchat, even after the equipment.
Yeah.
And it's a social network that allows you to talk to people, have a lot more ease of conversation with other people within VRchat itself. And it drives. I mean, it's a major driver of sales. I mean, city of Pittsburgh and both Chicago gets such a huge economic bump whenever they have those events in there. They more than welcome those conventions. So it's the same thing for VRchat. Like, when you're not at those conventions meeting people in real life, you're in VRchat just hanging out and chatting with friends you've met from different cities and different states. So it's a great place to get together.
Oh, wow. That's actually pretty cool. I can't say that I've ever been to a convention. Never been. Closest thing I've been was PortCon in Maine. But that was an anime convention, not necessarily furry convention. So pretty cool to hear.
It's you know what? Here's the thing. I was very intimidated the first time that I went, because I do a lot of furry artwork. I didn't really consider myself, much of a into the furry community that much. But the people there are so nice. And it was such a pleasure to talk and to work and meet people in the community, that it's like, wow, man, it was worth. My greatest regret was not having gone to visit beforehand, because I've been at, like, comic conventions are pretty nice too, but you feel detached from everything that's going on. It's like there's a well-known artist that's charging like $500 for a sketch of Spider-Man, and like, oh yeah, Spider-Man's cool and all, but it's not really my thing. It's not the artwork that I do.
Yeah.
But then you go to these conventions and you see people that aren't, that lofty, that high up, but they're willing to, and they want to have a conversation with you. They want to
Mm.
exchange ideas about how they make their products and how long they've been working in the market and doing art trades. And it was such a pleasure to go. And it was amazing seeing like families showing up at Anthrocon too. They would take their kids and get to see all the amazing stuff that was going on, because they do separate the more adult stuff from the stuff that's, that's more general public,
Mm.
which is great too. So anybody that's in the Pittsburgh area during the summer or in Chicago area during the winter, if you can make the trip, it's highly recommended. Pittsburgh is an amazing city. Chicago is too, and it's great to get out of my state to go travel. Any excuse to travel for me, like I said, I like traveling. Any
I don't
excuse
blame
to
you.
travel a bit is good enough in my book.
I don't blame you. Getting outside and seeing different scenery is always a good thing to do, especially as Raptor says, breaks the monotony of the day-to-day life. Hmm.
You know it.
Indeed. Wow. It's
Mhm.
cool to hear all the stuff you're up to with all of that. I just saw a booth, thought this is a really amazing booth. I want to go talk to him. But after here sitting here talking with you, it's really awesome that you're this involved with all this stuff. What made you want to push for all of this, may I ask? Like what's your motivation for it all?
Oh man. If you have to go back to the start, I had like a friend in high school that used to draw, and I got really interested into drawing.
Mhm.
And I basically went from drawing to 3D modeling and to the game programming bit. So it's like we have these interests when we're kids. Oh, I want to be a game programmer. I want to do this. I want to do that. And all of our dreams can actually come true to the extent we want it to. I mean, you live one life, live it to the fullest. But the stuff that you really wanted to do, sometimes you don't really get the chance. And VR and artwork gave me a channel through which I could express myself,
Mm.
not having to be, I don't have to become, the Michael Jordan of comic drawing, or the uh, the Bill Gates of game programming or whatever. But I can showcase stuff to other people
Mm.
that are interested and exchange ideas, and I get such great feedback from it, and I love it, and it's been very gratifying to develop this side. Everybody has to have hobbies. I mean, and this was the hobbies that I picked, and the hobbies just went further than originally intended.
Mm.
Some of them don't work out. Like, I mean, I was into 3D printing for a while and drone flying, and I did all the recording and everything, and with drones, and I edited videos, and I did all of that, and I had fun, but it didn't really pan out the way I wanted it to.
Mm.
It's fine. I got involved in other things, and some things work out better than others, and this is one of those things that just worked out really well
Mm.
with this and artworking too.
Wow. So, what were during your entire adventure doing modeling, VR, and artwork? What were some people that were inspirations to you or helped you along your way?
Oh God.
Yeah, I'm gonna dig deep,
I
man.
don't think there's enough hours in the day for me to list off all the people that helped me out so much. I mean, like, yeah, we meet so many people on this journey called life,
Mm.
and some of them we still walk with them, and some of them we no longer walk with, either because we separated paths, some through good means, some through not so good means. But I mean, every step in the journey is an adventure in of itself.
Mm.
And I'm thankful, and I don't regret any step that I took, because who knows what other path I would be on if I had not decided to buy that Rift S at Walmart on that day.
Mm.
I wouldn't be here talking to you. So, it's like I have way too many people to thank.
Mm.
Way too many people to thank. Nobody climbs the mountain without using the equipment. Somebody made that equipment. Somebody helped me along every step of the way. And I do really appreciate all the friends that I have.
Mm.
Um, I'm not a kind of person that would have been able to learn anything on their own, and I admit I had a lot of help going forward, and I'm so thankful to
Mm.
all of those people that were able to help me. I couldn't even list names, because the moment I start to list names, I'm leaving names out, and I don't want to offend anybody by not saying them. So I'd rather not say anybody and just say, like, yeah, I didn't get to where I was by myself. The
Mm.
cafe didn't get to where it was by itself, and neither did Mekamart. So you know who you are, and thank you, thank you to everybody.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how sometimes you'll start an adventure somewhere. It's like, oh, this little VR thing looks cool. And the next thing you know, off you go on some grand adventure. It's like, wait, how'd I get here? But I have noticed that as well. The VR chat and VR and the internet and the community is not always as horrible as everyone puts it out to be, and it's very wholesome to see all these people willing to help and guide you and take a few minutes to go, yeah, you push this button, do this thing, put in this link of code, and ta-da.
Have you ever realized how scary the thought is that if you hadn't clicked on join that world, you wouldn't have met that person? And then where would you be now without that person? Or either the way they helped you or the influence they gave you. That's kind of a little bit scary sometimes. I've come to realize that because some of the friends I found, it was like I just joined this world. I was working on a project and they say, "Oh, it's cool. I'll help you out with that." And next thing you know, they're helping you develop a shader that you had no way was possible. And all of a sudden you find yourself on a podcast interview show talking about something that they helped you out with like 2 years ago. It's funny how that works. But that's just the way it is. So, never be afraid to click on that button, join that world, and talk to that person because, heck, who knows where life's going to take you, right?
Indeed. Life is very fun and interesting in that way, or sometimes it just kind of slaps you upside the face and takes you on an adventure by your pants, whether you want it to or not. I definitely wonder that exact same question, although I'm very grateful for every step taken. And thank you for taking the time to speak with us, man. It's great getting to meet you. Just listening to you is inspiring.
No, I definitely appreciate it. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. It's definitely been an honor to be able to be here as well.
Oh, so question for you. Where can people find you if they wish to find you?
Well, our main point is still the Kemono.cafe. Of course, if you're interested in our comics, it's, to put it easily, it's www.kemono.cafe. That's the whole site. We were almost kemono.club, but it didn't work out because that domain was taken. So we ended up being the cafe. Another funny story is like if we weren't a cafe, we would have been a clubbing outfit for comics. So Kemono Cafe for our comics. And as far as the robot stuff is concerned, I haven't really made an exclusive like mekamart stuff yet. So you'll usually find us at Virtual Market, believe it or not. Virtual Market is where we have our biggest presence. I might in the future actually start making like more specific worlds to promote the comics itself, but it's not in the plans as of this moment. But you can usually find my stuff, like I said, at Virtual Market. And if I manage to make an old world, you will see it advertised at Virtual Market. Because if not a world, there will definitely be a poster somewhere.
Okay. So one last question is, can people purchase these models like the one you're in? If so, where?
So we have a store in both the vket store, which is something new that Virtual Market started up, and I also have it in Booth. But friends have been telling me to open up on Gumroad. So if you search up mekamart on Booth, you will see all of our 3 robot avatars that we had advertised on sale. I am working on a couple more, and I'm updating the ones we currently have. As you know, Vrchat recently updated their SDK to the 2022, so I'm busy moving everything over, unbreaking all the stuff that it breaks. But we're doing good. We're doing good. I think all of our stuff is currently updated to the 2022 with all the features, and I'm constantly adding more. Since it is my first time selling avatars, I'm getting a lot of input and feedback from people that are buying it, say, "Oh, you could add this or that." So I'm adding a lot of extra features, like the little access to the processing unit that you see there, and like I got some like guns that come out the thighs and color changers and all that stuff. So there's a lot of features that are going to get added. So even if you do purchase it, keep checking back every so often. So I'll come out with new versions with additional things. But I am working on new avatars as well. And there is one other thing I forgot to mention. If you are interested in seeing some of the other stuff that we're doing, you can search up Kemono Cafe on YouTube. I have recordings of all those interactions with people that would visit our booth and think I'm a bot. There's a lot of videos, and if you want to laugh your ass off for about half an hour, come check out the videos because the reactions people have are absolutely priceless. And I also have another YouTube channel which is called Dancing Drossel. And one of the first things I did when I got full body was start, doing VR dancing because I thought it was a great way to get exercise. So I also have a dancing YouTube channel, and
Wow.
I actually do dance with a lot of these robot avatars that I made. So I made these specifically for doing VR dancing. So do check that out as well. That's
Wow.
Dancing Drossel on YouTube.
Okay. Again, thank you very much, Neko, for coming and speaking with us. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to meet you. So thank you for your time.
No,
Thank-
much appreciated.
Raptor, you know the thing.
Yeah, we
It's
appreciate it. I got you, folks. No matter what you do in VR and everything else, but Neko needs a little help. Send him a can of WD-40 and a can of grease. This boy needs a lot of work,
Please,
but he's doing great all the
please,
way
please.
around. Thank you again, and
I'm
you
going
take
straight
care,
back to the
folks.
shop.
We'll talk to. He's going back to the shop. Hopefully not in pieces, because I don't got the glue to put it back together, but I got a hell aces roll of duct tape. Man, it worked great. Take care, folks. We'll talk to you later. Bye.